Oh, hello. Welcome back to another video. Today we're doing a faction rundown for the Grey Knights. That's right, a compendium team. Why are we doing this? Well, it was requested by the good people of the Tabletop Impulse Discord. Or by Major Tom, and then someone else put a 100% reaction under it, so that's good enough for me. If you'd like to be more engaged with the Tabletop Impulse community, if there could be said to be such a thing, then do click the link down below and join the Discord. And while you're there, like the video, subscribe, really helpful, because obviously I'm a really small channel. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. That'd be fantastic. The Discord is free. Everything is free. There's no asking for you to put your hand in your pocket on this channel. Not yet, anyway. You can see that Major Tom said that I should interview Zimbad. I thought about it. Zimbad's in his cocoon. It's the summer holidays. And even though we're really, really good friends and we see each other basically every day during work time, like, his little circle's never green on Discord, so I'm always worried to bother him. And it would essentially have to open with, we could do an interview. I'm not sure the best way to capture the audio from like a Discord voice call into a video. So can you come and do your day job and give me tech support in that? So in this instance, I didn't go along with that idea. But if it's something people really want, and if he comes on and says, "Oh, you missed out these 10 things, Phil, you stupid blah, blah," which is perfectly possible, then maybe we'd do a deep dive video later on. I mean, Zimbad might not want to speak on YouTube. I don't even know. Okay? But the reason, people, if you don't know idea, Zimbad's my best mate here in Colchester, and we play kill team against each other regularly, or not at the moment because it's the school holidays, but when we're both working, we play kill team regularly every week. And myself, my wife, and Zimbad went up together and entered the team tournament together. And at the last Warhammer World event, not the team tournament, the last singles event, he placed third with Grey Knights, beating out a lot of, people with more on meta teams, if we put it that way. So his name's going to crop up a lot in this video because everything I know about Grey Knights, I kind of learned from being slaughtered by Zimbad. So the introduction, first of all, oh yes, the bad old days of compendium teams. There's not much text on this slide, so it'll be quite quick to go through. They have Seek and Destroy and Security, and you all know my feelings, Zimbad's as well, on that is to take Security. The Grey Knights team is really simple. It's a Grey Knight, Justicar, and then 5 now additional Grey Knights, thanks to the errata here from the balanced data slate. So you get 1 Justicar plus 5 Grey Knights. One of those additional 5 Grey Knights can be a Grey Knight Gunner. Honestly, I wouldn't bother. We'll talk more about that later. If you're just looking to glue your models together quickly, the short answer, for those of you that don't want to watch the rest of the video, is just to give them all Storm Bolters and Nemesis Force weapons. Okay? We'll get into the whys and wherefores in a minute, but I always have to cover that really quickly because I know what I want from these videos a lot of the time is, I've got my box, what do I need to do? Well, the first thing you need to do, buy a second box because you need 6 now, and then you glue them together with Storm Bolters and Nemesis Force weapons. And then you'll have 4 spares, maybe you can roster some weird stuff, it's up to you. Yeah, psychic powers as well. They have some special rules, which is rare for a compendium team. So they have 3 psychic powers that they can do for an action. We'll look at them briefly. So we've got Armoured Resilience. Until the end of the turning point, this operative's save characteristic is increased by 1. That's good. Especially if someone's in danger of getting overwatched and in danger of being shot, and you know you've had to leave them somewhere stupid. Getting up to 2 up save is not bad. Hammer Hand, which is really good. We'll talk about this some more in a minute. Until the end of the turning point, each time the operative fights in combat and the resolve successful hit step of the combat, the first time it strikes, inflict 1 additional damage. Doesn't sound like much, but we're going to talk about that in a minute. Finally, Astral Aim. Until the end of the turning point, the operative's ranged weapon gains a no cover special rule. So remember again, you got 3 APL, so you're going to be able, if you've got a shot lined up and you want to astral aim, you can astral aim, and then you know. Remember that no cover's not as good as you think it is. It's not ignoring the effects of cover. It's just ignoring the little bit about being able to retain a cover dice for being in cover. Still worth doing now and again. But we'll talk more about psychic powers when we look at the equipment and things. Grey Knight Warrior. So, stat block, he's a Space Marine, so he's got 3 circle move, 3 APL, GA1, Def 3, 3 up save, and 11 wounds. The only thing here that's really special, of course, is he's a 3 APL guy, okay? Stormbolters are just really good. Like, people don't see this straight off. Stormbolters, 4 dice, hitting on 3s, 3-4 Relentless. Relentless means you're re-rolling all of your misses, okay? And you're going to bolt a discipline either every turning point or at least 3 out of the 4 turning points, right? So bolt a disco or bolt a discipline, as it's more properly known, essentially you get to shoot twice. So until the end of the turning point, each time a friendly Grey Knight operative is activated, it does not perform a fight action during the activation. It can perform 2 shoot actions during the activation if a Stormbolter is selected for each of these shooting attacks. So when you're looking at the Stormbolter, just think, think about doubling the attacks dice to an 8, right? Because you're going to get to chuck 8 attack dice if you need to, and you're going to get to split them between 2 targets if you need to, right? And yes, that takes 2 APL to do it that way, so it's not quite the same as it having 8 attack dice, but it's pretty close. Okay, now the only choice you're making on these warriors is which combat weapon to take. Zimbad recommends the Nemesis Force weapon. I tend to agree with him. I mean, let's look at them. So they're all of them 5 attack dice, so that's a wash. The hammer has -1 to hit, so everything else is hitting on 3s. The hammer's got -1 to hit. So damage-wise, the warding stave's 4-5 damage with stun, right? The Force weapon is 4-6 damage with lethal 5 up. Well, lethal 5 up and having an extra point of crit, that is every day of the week. That's better than the warding stave, so we can forget the warding stave. The Falchions are 4-5 damage with Relentless. Now, you've just told me, let me tell you how amazing Relentless is for the Stormbolter because of the consistency. The thing with the way combat works is you're not really most of the time concerned about doing consistent damage over time. You're concerned with your front-loaded damage. So in other words, I'm saying to you that the Force weapon is better because you've got more chance because of the lethal 5 up of getting your crit, right? And against so many things, that 1 crit is all you need because it's 4-6 damage. If you've got Hammer Hand activated, right, so you're doing +1 damage, and this is why Hammer Hand is good, because that takes you to the 5, 7, and 7 is a really important damage threshold, because suddenly you're 1-hitting Novitiates, you're 1-hitting Skitarii, you're 1-hitting Vet Guard, you're 1-hitting Pathfinders, and you're 1-hitting Harlequins as well. Answers on a postcard, are they 7 wounds? But you're 1-hitting all these 7 wound models, and that's powerful. Yeah, it takes you an extra action point to turn on the Hammer Hand, although there is equipment that can let you do it as a free action. We'll get to in the equipment step, okay? But Hammer Hand Charge Fight is pretty powerful, okay? Because you're going to be able to get right up to somebody and kill them before they get to do anything back to you at all, if they're one of these 7 wound models. The Demon Hammer, I guess you can make an argument for. I wouldn't make an argument for it on this model because 4-up's just a bad dice roll. The Demon Hammer has the benefit of Strength 5 and a crit of 6. So I guess if you are coming up against an enemy like Custodes, like Plague Marines, you know, where you're just really you're going to get to the end of your dice pool in the combat because you're going to have to chew through every wound and it's going to make your teeth hurt, then maybe you're going to wish you had a Demon Hammer because of the base damage of 5, so you know that every hit's doing a 5. It's not worth it on the Warrior because of the 4-up. We're going to look right now at the boss. We're not. In fact, I can do what I like. I'm going to skip to the boss. So the boss has +1 to hit and an extra wound. And so because if he's got +1 to hit on your boss, you might consider going for the hammer, right? It looks cool and it's going to be better, potentially better for you against those few really chewy teams, the Custodes, the Plague Marines, the ones where the front-loaded damage isn't going to bring the fight to a swift conclusion because you've just got so many wounds to chew through. Okay? The flip side of that is, at least against Custodes, are you going to make it to the end of the combat because they're doing a lot of wounds against you? So, it's one to think. Now, to be very clear, Zimbad, who's the guy that's podiumed, did not take a hammer on his boss. He went for the force weapon on the boss as well to benefit from the tubs hit on the boss. Although, now, one thing to know about Zimbad's roster, he was brilliantly converting. I've talked about them a lot. He was brilliantly converting his 6 guys. So he only had 6 guys. If you are playing these with the stock models, chances are you've bought 2 boxes, right? So you get your 6 models. So you've got 4 spare. You could make a leader with a hammer to roster in against the particularly chewy armies, right? We're going to go back and look at the gunner. Honestly, don't bother. Honestly, don't bother because Storm Bolters, once you take into account the bolter discipline, Storm Bolter is just so good, right? The Incinerator is just trash, okay? Because you're trading a ranged weapon that can shoot twice for a weapon that you're going to get less turns of shooting with because of its short range. It's not, and I know that I just did the Novitiate video and I told you how good the Flamers in Novitiates were, but Flamers in Novitiates are better. Flamers in Novitiates have a ploy to make them even better, and Flamers in Novitiates are coming in at the opportunity cost of what? Like an auto pistol, right? These are coming in at the opportunity cost of a Storm Bolter. It's not worth it. Okay, the Silencer, oh man. So the Silencer's a 3 up to hit, just like a bolter, 3-4 damage, just like a bolter. It has 2 extra dice of attack, but it does have heavy and Fusillade. Fusillade is in theory a positive rule because it lets you split your dice between 2 targets. I have never seen anybody use Fusillade. It's really, like, in theory, if you had the perfect shot against 2, like, Vet Guard troopers or something, 2 7-worm models, you might decide to risk it for a biscuit, and hope that you got, like, 2 crits and 2 hits, and you could kill 2 guys. You know what would kill 2 guys more reliably, though? A Storm Bolter on Bolter Discipline, because then you could shoot 1 round of shooting, see if he was dead, and if he was dead, you can go right, and then you can shoot the other fella. So you can't... Plus, it's heavy. So there's a fair chance you're going to lose a turn of shooting with it because you're going to have to move to position with it. You can't sell me on that. Now, the one that you might sell me on, perhaps, is the Silencer, only because it does have that it has an extra dice over a bolter, and it does have the base damage 4, the crit damage of 6. It's swingy. It has the potential to put out a lot more damage than a bolter, a Storm Bolter, if your dice are hot. Right? But if your dice aren't running hot, you've lost those re-rolls. Right? And so you're likely to do a lot worse than a Storm Bolter. You could roster one and try it against, again, Custodes, Rubricae, who have better saves against low damage weapons, Plague Marines, where you need every single scrap of damage point, right? You could perhaps bring it, or not on the list, potentially Legionaries, but then when you're rostering, you don't know if they've taken the Mark of Nurgle, so it may or may not be worth it. Again, if you've got the box of 10, make a gunner with a side cannon if you'd like to, right, as a roster option. But Zimbad, who's podiumed with these, didn't bother. And it's not definitely better than a Storm Bolter. There might be a few forces as an edge case where it is, like the Rubrics, like the Plague Marines, potentially the Custodes as well, where it is better. But you'd have to test that. You'd have to build the model, test it, run it without, see how it goes for you. And that's it. There are your 3 data sheets. So now we're on to equipment. Let's look at the equipment. So Cybolt ammunition, we can give 1 to our boss. We don't have to go into the boss, but let's be fair, you're going to. It gives you +1 to your damage characteristics. Okay, so you're gonna then end up with a Grey Knight Justicar with a Storm Bolter that's doing 4/5 damage. Right, hitting on 2s with that's really good. Right, compare that with some of these. So suddenly you got 4/5 damage. Well, that's nearly a Psy Cannon by itself. That's nearly a Psy Cannon by itself that's hitting on 2s. Okay, that's getting its rerolls and it's rerolling all its 1s. That can do Bolter Disco. Like, there's your real gunner. He's right there with that equipment. That's a must take. That's a must take in every single game. The other thing that's a must take, we're just going to drop down here to True Silver Armour. Obviously, because you made your boss so powerful with your Cybolt ammunition, you're going to might as well give him this 2+ save. So there's your 6 points spent. Okay, True Silver Armour, Cybolt ammunition every single game. And then what you're going to do against most opponents is you're going to shove the Santic Blessing on 2 random guys. So Santic Blessing allows you to do Manifest Psychic Power once per battle for free. So in fact, you can do 4 things, which is quite good for the setup of if it's an objective-based game and someone who's playing Novitiates, as has happened to me, has a Novitiate or an objective. And you go, okay, well, I'm going to use my Santic Blessing to do the free hammer hand. I'm going to charge, I'm going to fight, I'm going to kill you with my first and only crit dice, and then I'm going to have a spare AP to interact with that objective and score a victory point. That's worth doing. That is a very cool piece of equipment, right? That's your equipment sorted, unless you draw an opponent that's got a Psyker. Now, Grey Knights used to have this really funny thing with the Psych Out grenades. Just look at this. So it's a grenade, it's blast, indirect, it's hits on a 3, 4 dice, it does 1 damage, it's pointless. But it's got this Psych Out rule. Against Psychers or Demons, it's a 3/5 with lethal 5 up. Now, it used to be funny because what you'd do, especially if you drew a team with a lot of Psychers, you could take loads of these. You take 5 of these. All equipment points just on 5 Psych Out grenades, please. And then you just throw them at the Demons, and the Demons will all die, especially because Demons are quite a hoardy team, right? Also pretty good against the Mirror Match, other Grey Knights, all Psychers, although they'll be doing the same to you. I dare say that will be a short game. And also against Warp Coven, who have quite a few Psychers as well. But now, of course, and everyone thinks this is the crack grenade nerf, but this is an indirect grenade, so you can only have 1. If you're playing against one of those psychic heavy armies, maybe you take your 1 Psych Out grenade instead of one of your Santic Blessings. It's up to you. I have never played as one of a team that uses Psychers at all. So I've never played as Grey Knights. So all my experience is from being beaten up by Grey Knights at the hands of Zimbad, which happened a lot. But he's never had to take one against me, so I don't know how effective it is. But the option is there for you. The other thing is interesting is Hexagrammic Ward. You can only take 1, 2 EP. Once per battle, when an enemy operative that is visible to this operative performs a psychic action, the operative can use the ability, roll a d6 on a 3-up, thus the action's power is not resolved, and the action points are not refunded. Do you know, it can be funny if you're going to take it, why not take it? You got to play with your toys. Honestly, real talk, I think you're going to get more use out of Santic Blessing in terms of it's going to be a known quantity. It's just this fact you got to roll a 3-up. Any ability where you have to roll the 3-up or a 4-up or whatever it is probably not worth doing, right? Because you do it once, you roll a 1 or a 2, and it was a waste of time. Now, I will say I've said Psychic Heavy on the slides. I might take this, tempted to take it if I was playing into Legionaries, just because their Psych is really offensive and good. Even though they've only got 1 Psyker, if he gets a really good power off on you and then you actually know that doesn't happen, that can be pretty good. It can put your opponent off balance. It can ruin their plans for turns going forward, so it could be a worthwhile pick. But you're going to have to weigh up in your own mind where they sit in exchange with the Santic Blessings. Never, ever, ever leave home without Cyborg ammunition. That is the #1 top pick, and I just think the true silver armor is really important if you've gone for the Cyborg ammunition, because you're painting a bit of target on your leader's back, a little bit there. The only other thing here that my picture has covered over, I'll just move this along. Hexagranic Ward also works against psychic actions that don't require a psychic power to be resolved, like psychic actions from Warp Coven Tac Ops. I might be very tempted to take Hexagranic Ward against Warp Coven just to frustrate them in that particular way. That's quite good fun. Ploys. So we've covered Bolt of Disco, you're going to Bolt of Disco every turning point, probably. A lot of people make a lot of words out of Tide of Shadows. Sinbad hardly ever uses Tide of Shadows. It's certainly not an every turn thing. It's one of those things where if you have ended up deploying first, so you probably put kind of quite a lot of your guys on conceal, you might Tide of Shadows first turn to be a bit more cagey with it, right? To be a bit more cagey, keep you guys alive, because in my opinion, with elite teams, you want to play the first turn conservatively to keep them alive, to have you be in position and have your full team for the second turn. But I will say that Sinbad always says something that, this is something on which we kind of have a little disagreement. Sinbad always says, don't fall into the trap of respecting the opponent too much and play aggressive when you can. I think the skill is knowing when you can and when you're going to get yourself into a mess. So don't think you have to Tide of Shadows every turn. It's far, 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 far more important to Bolt of Discipline every turn. But if you're in that situation where, you've deployed and you've put your guys on conceal turn 1 and then the enemy's put most of his on engage, then probably it's going to come up. Or if you did have to get to deploy second and you can see, the enemy's deployed really aggressive with loads of people on engage, then of course you're going to go, okay, well, I'll use Tide of Shadows, that will help me out. Shock Assault and Tide of Celerity are totally situational. So Shock Assault, if you don't perform a shooting activation, you perform 2 fight actions on the charge. If you're playing against a really hoardy team and they've got loads of models really bunched together, and you can see from the board state that you're likely to get 1 or more charges into clumps of 2 models, then maybe you turn it on. But it's not going to come up that often. It's like how people never get much mileage out of Reap in the same way. People aren't going to bunch up past maybe in their deployment they're bunched up and then they're rapidly dispersed. Tide of Celerity is kind of the same deal. It puts an extra inch on your charge action. You can pre-measure at any time. So if you know you're going first and you can see that you've got a charge that you want to do and you can see that the extra inch is going to help you out and you've pre-measured it, then you go first and move that charger and use Tide of Celerity for the 1 CP and you're happy about it. But 99 games out of 100 you're not going to use this because it's too situational as to whether that extra inch would help you. So Bolt of Disco really the standout there. And more interestingly, I think, is the tactical ploys. So you've got Oddie, which is a ploy so good they didn't give it to the Phobos Marines. I don't think they'll give this ploy out again to bespoke Space Marine teams. What Oddie only in death does duty end. What it does is essentially when somebody dies or is incapacitated, they're not removed until the end of your next activation and they don't count as being injured. So in other words, if your opponent managed to kill someone that's not yet activated, rather than miss out on that activation, really important elite team, you just go, okay, Oddie, and then you can shoot and fight and whatever with them as usual. And then then at the end of the turn, they actually are removed, right? Which is fine. A little errata to say that they will be removed at the end of the next activation or at the end of the battle to stop people using Oddie on a model that's died that had already activated in turning point 4 and was maybe scoring central control or a primary objective, and they use Oddie to make him invulnerable effectively and score that objective because scoring is done at the end. At the end of turning point 4. So they clarified that because that was beardy as all heck. And they shall know no fear, which means you can ignore your modifiers to your APL characteristic and not be injured, which is fine. If you need it, if you have an injured Grey Knight, it's good to have that to shore them back up because after all you've only got 6 models. And that's your ploys. So let's have a sample list. So this is Zimbad's podiuming roster in full. There's something really zen and simplistic about this roster, isn't it? Right? 6 guys, all with the Stormbolter and Nemesis Force weapon. That really is all you need to do. Yeah, I've given you some ideas of how you can add some flavour. But I think the flavour is basically just diluting the base stock of the ruthlessly efficient list, and you're throwing in all these other flavours, and it's actually diluting something beautiful. Yeah, you can roster in a Psy Cannon, and you may get some mileage against certain opponents. And yeah, you can get hammer on your leader, roster in another leader with a hammer, and yes, you might get some mileage against some opponents. But there's something really positive to be said about the low cognitive load of just going, well, all my guys have got the same combat weapon and the same gun, and I'm just going to think about positioning and what I need to be doing. So yeah, Stormbolter and Nemesis Force weapon is the Zimbad way. Final thoughts. Look, Grey Knights are strong and straightforward, and perhaps they're the single best new player kill team. That's not me saying that they're not good and they're not capable of winning tournaments, because Zimbad came third with them. I keep saying it, but it did happen. But I also think they're a really good team for giving to a new player who's perhaps new to kill team, because there's not that much there. The psychic powers, I guess, there's not that much there. I think they're more straightforward than Plague Marines, for example, because Plague Marines you have to care about the bell and keeping that in range of everybody. These are more individual. They're more able to go and do their own things. If you have any further questions about Grey Knights, put them in the comments. Maybe Zimbad will come along and answer them. Or just join the Discord. Again, like I say, the link's in the description, and you can at Zimbad on the Discord and you probably get an answer as well. I already did all the other things, but please do subscribe if you haven't already. That really helps me out. And I will be doing a hobby stream tomorrow, 7 PM UK time. I really need a hobby stream because I've got these bleeding tactical marines for Horus Heresy that I painted about 10 years ago, and none of them are edge highlighted, so I've got to go along and actually bring them up to standard. It's not a crime to put more paint on top of models that you painted a long time ago. That's perfectly fine, okay? I'm going to talk about that in the hobby stream. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope whatever you're doing today, this evening, tonight, is going really well for you. And I will see you, as I say, in the hobby stream tomorrow. Alright guys, cheery, bye for now.